Happy Camper Radio starts in 3, 2, 1. It is so good to have you back again. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper. And you, my friends, can be a happy camper too. This is the Happy Camper Radio Show. And the fall weather is upon us. You know, I stepped out on my back patio this morning and that fall air just hit me right in the face. It felt so good. And I don't know what it's like where you come from, but every now and then in the early hours of the morning when I get up, when I'm home, of course, because I'm a night owl, I do work overnights, but when I am home, I like to step out on the patio, and I don't have anything fancy in the line of lawn furniture or patio furniture. I have camping chairs set up back there because I feel more close to camping, and I just feel more comfortable in a camping chair when I'm sitting out there. But the leaves are starting to change colors right now. It's getting to be, a little on the chilly side in the mornings, but that's the type of style that I like, especially when it comes to camping. I know there's a lot of folks who pretty much are just spring and summertime campers, and this time of the year they pack their gear away for the season, and they'll start up again in the spring. That's okay. But myself personally, I love the fall and wintertime camping temperatures, and I'm just about getting ready now to get into full swing. And hopefully in a couple weeks, I'm going to be heading back up to the North Georgia mountains. As you remember, I talked on the show, we got rained out real bad. A lot of heavy rain, lightning storms, and that's just no good, no matter how you look at it. But hopefully we'll have a good fall camping season coming up here shortly. I'm looking forward to getting away. I know a lot of my friends who I go camping with are looking forward to it as well. Our phone number here at the Happy Camper Radio Show is 404-537-2267. That's 404-537-CAMP. Call us anytime with your camping questions, day or night. Leave us a voicemail, and we'll get you on the show and answer your camping questions for you. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and add us to your circles on Google+. Of course, you can access any one of our social media sites, and that's very simply by going to our homepage, which is www.happycamperradio.com. While you're there, make sure you click on the RSS feed button, and this way you can subscribe to the show and never miss a single episode. Have some newcomers to the show, some shout-outs for you right now. Who do we have here this week? We have Crowd to Camp. They are following us on Twitter. Also to Rich over at the Megapods, Deja Vu Scene, to Don McSee, and also to Tammy C. Hogan of Simi Valley, California. They all added us to circles this past week on Google+. Thank you all so very much for joining us in being a part of this great Happy Camper Radio family. When does it start dawning on you that the fall is here? Is it because the temperatures are cold, because you start to see the leaves fall from the trees? And I don't want to really talk too much about that because my front yard is covered right now, and I'm going to have to get out there and deal with that problem in just a little bit. But this time of the year, as we get closer and closer to the end of October, that's when it starts hitting me, and it really starts sinking in that the fact that fall is here. What happens at the end of October? Well, October 31st is Halloween. Have you put your Halloween plans together yet? I know myself for a fact, when I was a lot younger, I used to so much look forward to dressing up for Halloween. And we, back in those days, would dress up and we would go to school in our Halloween costumes. We had Halloween parties at school. We would come home from school with bags and bags of candy. So much has changed over the years, and you don't really hear too much of that anymore, but still, in a lot of neighborhoods, in a lot of communities, there are folks who are really into the Halloween spirit. And depending upon what part of the country you live in, what neighborhood you live in, you may still see a lot of these activities. Case in point, I was out driving this morning. On my way back home, I spotted a few homes. Here it is less than a week away from Halloween, and I have seen some very fancy Halloween decorations set up around different homes. And it is so neat. I'm glad to see in some areas, in some communities, that that's still available. Have you made your camping reservations for this weekend? You'll be surprised to know that there are some campgrounds that do participate in the festive spirits. And if you're a young family and you have young kids and they're into Halloween, have you ever thought about maybe going to a local campground that participates in Halloween activities? It's a great time to spend with the kids, and it's a great time to get involved in the festive spirits. Now, I want to say that as a kid growing up, I never participated in camping and Halloween. Those two activities never really coincided in my life growing up. But I would like to think, if I had the opportunity to go camping as a kid during Halloween, it would probably be a lot of fun. Now, still, there are trick-or-treating that goes on around home, and that's fine. And many kids and parents back in those days felt pretty safe about allowing their kids to go out at night. And there really wasn't too much of a problem. Many kids were given a curfew, and a lot of the kids stuck to it. They knew there would be consequences if they did not. A lot of kids throughout the neighborhood also participated, and you'd be surprised that many of the neighbors in our community, even some of the ones we didn't know, were so much looking forward to having kids knock on their door, trick or treat, and they had bags and bushels of candy, and each and every one of us came home with more candy than we really needed. Parents had very little concerns about the problems with candy back then. We all knew that if a candy wrapper was torn open, if it got tore open somehow, we would just simply toss that out. Not that we felt that anybody was tampering with it, but, it was just not a healthy thing to have, wrappers that are already open, candy inside, and you're going to go ahead and consume those. You just didn't do that. Now, back in those days, too, like I said, we went to school with many of our friends, and a lot of us dressed up in our Halloween costumes. And some of those costumes back in those days were very, very creative. Even today, I'm surprised to see how far some people actually go to get dressed up for Halloween. And even some adults to this day still dress up for Halloween. I think that's cool, too. I know my parents never really got that much involved into it, but I have seen some kids come to my front door, and some of the parents were all dressed up, too. That just gives you an idea what kind of a community we have out here and what type of, events that we have. And it's a good, close-knit community. I'm glad to see that we have that here. I know that's not the case in all communities, but have you ever thought about maybe taking your kids on a camping trip? The neat thing is, this coming weekend is Halloween, and Halloween falls on a Friday this year. And if we plan on going away for a weekend camp outing, a lot of times we do that on a Friday. We come home from work, we throw our gear into the car, it's Friday, we don't have to be back at work until Monday, and we just go somewhere and, go camping for a short trip. This would be an ideal opportunity for you to take your kids somewhere and go camping and enjoy the Halloween festive spirits. And you'll be surprised at a lot of the places that are available, and some may be very, very close to home. Kids used to go to school in their costumes, like I say, back in those days, and nearly all kids participated in activities at school. Schools came up with some real creative ideas. They had Halloween parties. Teachers passed around candy. How often do you hear that happening these days? A lot of kids, like I said, were creative with their costumes and their outfits, and there were plenty of candy to be not only brought home, but also brought back to school in the lunch boxes for several weeks ahead. That's just how much candy that we consumed back then. And again, like I say, a lot of things have changed. That was back in the days. Many schools have canceled these type of activities. Costumes in schools pretty much not allowed these days. And in many cases, candy is not permitted at school. Some communities have even banned Halloween activities because of certain things that may have happened in the past. There may be concerns about the criminal element. There's always concern about candy that is being tampered with. Talk about the candy with the open wrappers. First thing that comes to people's minds is, well, somebody was doing something to this candy with the intentions of causing harm to our children. That thought is coming through so many people's minds by some of the things that they have seen or heard on television or maybe read in different news reports. Some Halloween activities are canceled because of religious concerns. And the sad part about this whole thing is kids these days are paying the price. That is the saddest part of all. You'll be surprised how many campgrounds feature Halloween events. And just before I got started with the show today, I went online and I put in my search engine Halloween camping, and I come up with all kinds of places that are available for folks to go to. Now, some of them may be a drive away from home. Some of them may be around the corner. It all depends on where you live. And of course, I'm only talking about what's going on over here in the States. Can't say what goes on in other locations, but Halloween has always been an American tradition. It's been around for many, many years. Again, like I say, some places have decided that Halloween just is not a good thing in their communities. They have banned it. They have canceled it. Some schools, some educational institutions don't allow it. But there are campgrounds out there that do feature Halloween events. And there's quite a few to choose from. If you go online, you may find one very close to home. And timing, like I say, this year is very, very good because Halloween does fall on a Friday, and there may be time for you to make your reservations to go somewhere close by. If you find a campground that does have Halloween activities for the kids, you may still have a spot there that you can reserve at the campsite and get there in time and get your kids involved and have a great time. And you'll be surprised just how much fun you can have. I wish I could have done it as a kid. I can only imagine what kind of activities do go on at these type of events. I know if my kids were younger and I had the opportunity to do it over, I probably would take them to a campground that was featuring some sort of a Halloween activity. And again, like I says, many can be found just by doing a simple web search. Some of these campgrounds do offer bonfires, hay rides, and some campsite decorating contests. They have flashlight candy hunts, and there's all kind of activities that your kids can be involved in. And there's so many good benefits of this, too. If you're not into that, maybe you can host a Halloween camping party at home if you participate in the Great American Backyard Campout every year, which is something we beef up on the show all the time and look forward to doing. This past year, like I said, just like last week, with my trip to the North Georgia mountains, we did get rained out. Those things do happen. But this time of the year might be a great opportunity for you to get with friends and family in your neighborhood and maybe hold a Halloween camping event right there in your backyard. It's just a thought. You might have all kind of fun, and I know your kids would have a blast too. There's a lot of benefits with Halloween camping, and the good thing is most of these campgrounds are very family-oriented. They allow kids and campers around to be good campers, to engage in a lot of friendly family activity, and a lot of them do have good family values. Now, kids can participate in the day and the nighttime activities. A lot of the campgrounds will list the activities that they do plan to hold on their website, and you'll be surprised at just how many campers actually do get involved in the activities and the festivities that are occurring at the campground, even though they may or may not have kids. But it's a very festive activity. It's a very festive atmosphere, and it's a great opportunity for your kids to participate. Some of the activities may include getting around a campfire and telling ghost stories. That's the perfect time to do that. Of course, if you have some really young kids, you don't want to scare them to death. But a lot of Halloween party events can be sponsored and are sponsored at the campgrounds. Some of them may include pumpkin carving or pumpkin decorating. perhaps they do trick-or-treating throughout the campground. I haven't heard of that before, but hey, nothing's out of the ordinary when it comes to Halloween. Very little vehicle traffic is to be concerned about at the campground. Unlike, your neighborhood, one of the things that we do have a problem with in this particular neighborhood that I live in, we have one part of our community has a very long, straight stretch of roadway. And even though the speed limit here is 25 miles an hour, sometimes people traveling into this community, and I tend to believe it's going to be people who are visiting, not people who actually live here, happen to exceed that speed limit. And that can be very dangerous at times, especially if you have people walking along the road. And it's even more serious at nighttime, especially if you're off to the side, you don't have a flashlight, you're not wearing bright colored clothing. See, that's a concern. In the campgrounds, a lot of times you don't have vehicle traffic, especially at night. And even if you do, people tend to drive very, very slow, which is, a safety factor. And that safety is absolutely the most important thing when it comes to being out in the camping community and having your kids, especially walking along the side of the roads in the campground at night. So that's one of the least things that are going to be on your mind. But still, you want to be safe no matter whether you're camping or at home, if you're planning on staying at home for Halloween, or, if you plan on going to a public or private campground somewhere that may be hosting Halloween activities. And it's an overall friendly environment, like I say. So, this is something to consider. Hey, also have some safety tips here for you that I do want to pass along, whether you're planning on camping or whether you're planning on staying at home. Regardless, if you have young children, I think some of these safety tips are very, very important. They're going to be very important for you to consider if you're going to be participating, if your kids are going to be participating. You never can be too safe. I have always believed that, if your kids are going to dress up, take an interest in what they want to do. Some of the kids want to dress up like little monsters or little whatevers, okay? And maybe it's a cartoon character or a very popular character that happens to be one that all the kids are talking about these days. If they want to dress up, take an interest in that. But at the same time, you ought to be there helping them select the outfits that they want to wear. And it's exceptionally important, since a lot of the activities are going to be taking place at night, that they choose bright-colored clothing for visibility. That is so important. And a lot of the kids do like the bright, fancy neon colors too anyway. So that's going to be an easy one for you to deal with if you're a parent and you've got young kids. Here's another thing you might want to consider too. Even though some of your costumes may be bright and some may not, you want to be seen by people who are driving on the road. It's always important to tell your kids to walk along the side of the road. If there's a sidewalk there, utilize that sidewalk. Don't be out there in the street. But if you happen to have one of the neighborhoods like I live in where there are no sidewalks, you definitely want to walk to the right-hand side of the road or on the left-hand side of the road, against traffic. In any event, you definitely want to be off to the side, and you kids, they would want to be seen by oncoming motorists. And in addition to the bright-colored clothing, you may want to consider some of these reflective strips that they sell. You can get them in bicycle stores. You can get them in your local department stores, maybe back there in the bicycle section. Have you ever seen a bicyclist going down the road in the middle of the night? Or maybe it might be just the early evening hours that already got dark. But that bicyclist has reflective gear on his bicycle, which makes him visible to you as soon as your headlights come up upon that bicyclist. Well, they do sell these reflective strips that you can put on the back of your kid's clothing and maybe on a couple pieces on the front, where, if the motorist is coming, they see that reflective strip and they realize that, hey, somebody is there. So we need to slow down. We need to take a little extra precaution and be aware of our surroundings. I highly encourage kids that do go trick-or-treating, whether at the campground or at home, to participate with friends. And a lot of times they're going to do that anyway. I don't know too many kids who want to go trick-or-treating by themselves. If they're young children, they have got a lot of friends, a lot of the friends live in that neighborhood, chances are they're going to want to get together as a group. I remember going out as a youngster myself. I always had 3 or 4 friends, and every year we always traveled together. We always knocked on the same door. We always got the same amount of candy. And we had a great time each and every year that we got together to go trick-or-treating. Now, if you have very young children, parents should always accompany their children during their trick-or-treating activities. So very important. And again, this is an opportunity for the parents to get dressed up in a lot of their costumes as well. I got to say, if my kids had to do it all over again, if they were maybe 8 or 9 years old and I had the time and had the interest that I do today, it's amazing how your age will change you in the way you think. I probably would have gotten dressed up myself and gone out door to door right there with them. I probably wouldn't have carried a trick-or-treating bag, and if I did carry a trick-or-treating bag, I'd have probably gotten more than just candy, or probably a couple rocks or some coal or something like that in my stocking. But anyway, any candy I got, I probably would have given to my kids like they really needed it. Here's something else you need to consider also. Make sure that your kids are carrying a flashlight with them. That is a must. Make sure that the flashlight works. Make sure that the batteries are fresh. That's so very, very important. Whether you are camping, whether you're trick-or-treating at the campground, or whether you are trick-or-treating in your neighborhood. Make sure your kids have an operable flashlight, and make sure that they understand that they need to use that flashlight. It's not something that they need to carry along or just, throw in their sack because they don't like carrying it. That flashlight should be used, and it should be on at all times after dark. Don't be shining the flashlight in motorists' eyes or anything like that. Make sure that you educate them on that. But, it's important that the kids be able to see in front of them. Not every neighborhood is going to have lighting like our neighborhood does. We do have some outdoor lighting along the roads. That's something that we pay for each and every year in our taxes, but it lights up our neighborhood. That's cool. Not every neighborhood is like that, though. So it's very important that your kids get an idea what their surroundings are, and the way they do that is to carry a flashlight with them, and they carry it from start to finish and make sure that that's operable. Now, here's another thought, too. Whether or not you are camping, you may want to invest in some of those glow sticks. We talked about that here during our alternative camp lighting episode a week or so ago. These things are very, very neat. They're very inexpensive, and they last a good long time. These glow sticks, you purchase them, you open them up, you bend them, they snap, and they light up. And I think they stay lit for maybe somewhere around 6 hours. They come in many different colors, and they do throw off a great bit of light. So that's something else for you to consider, too. Maybe you have some in your camping supply box that you have in storage right now. You're not going to be using them till next year. Pull them out, give them to your kids, and let them have fun. Let them take them glow sticks with them, and they can keep them in their hand. There are, like it says, a lot of them come in a lot of different bright colors. So, that's going to be very attractive to kids. And they're also going to be visible by oncoming motorists. Also, make sure that you teach your children to avoid homes that are not lit. Occupants may choose not to participate, and when they do, they actually turn out their lights and they go to bed. Stay away from homes like that. Some of these homes or campsites may not be occupied. If you're going to be camping and Halloweening, and they do encourage kids to walk along the different loops within the campground to participate in the Halloween activities, if the camper does not want to participate, chances are their lights are going to be out. Maybe there's just going to be a small glow around the campfire. Maybe they're not participating. I don't know if all that happens at the campground. But again, if you check on the website of the different campsites in your area that do participate in Halloween activities, they'll give you a whole list of things that they do plan to do. And if you don't participate this year, there's still times many years down the road ahead while your kids are still young, and they can participate in a lot of these different activities. Here's something else you want to consider also. Consider carrying a pillowcase instead of a paper bag for your candy. Now, I'm talking to the kids here now, with the help of the parents. I had my younger brother that was trick-or-treating with me many, many years ago, and we all carried big paper bags. And before the end of the night, our bags got so loaded, my poor brother, unfortunately, his bag got tore open. He, to this day, believes that somebody cut open his bag and the candy fell out. I think, that maybe he may have set it down on the wet pavement or something like that, and, it just, the candy just eventually came out. But the rest of us came home with a big bag of candy, and he came home with very, very little. Of course, he probably doesn't remember it, but we all did share our candy with him. So you might want to consider carrying a pillowcase instead of a paper bag. Also, discard candy with torn wrappers. That goes without saying. Know where your kids are, parents. That's very important. And kids, if your parents give you a curfew, by all means, it's going to be very important that you obey that curfew. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. I found a very neat campground that I want to take you to this week, and it's one of these ones that's open year-round. It is Big Spring in Missouri. This is a great campground. They have 110 campsites, and this campground is operated by the National Park Service and is part of the Ozark National Scenic Riverways. A lot of great things to see out here. The Ozark National Scenic Riverway is known for its caves, its springs, sinkholes, and losing streams, and they feature over 300 identified caves within its boundary. If you're a sightseer, you might want to consider Big Spring out in Missouri. They've got a lot for you to look at on their website, and if you just go ahead to the website now, you'll find it on our homepage all week long under the featured campground section. Click on it, and it'll tell you a whole lot of things that they have going on there. The Ozark Forest is mostly white oak and short-leaf pine. It's Missouri's only native pine species. Along the rivers, sycamore, cottonwood, river birch, and maples are quite common. Check out their activities and amenities. They have an amphitheater there, birding, boat ramp, campfire programs, cold spring access, educational programs, horseback riding, kayaking, paved roads, a ranger station, self-pay station. Quite a few things there for you to take in. Also, things to know before you go. Some campsites may be available on a first-come, first-served basis. They don't have sewer hookups there, but they do have a dump station available. Modern restrooms. They check them all out. And one of the things that I do want to point out here that I think is very, very important, and it's on their website there, so you don't want to overlook this. Diving from the river bluffs is illegal, it's dangerous, and it can result in death. So, it may look tempting, but you don't want to do it. I'm sure you'll find some signs that may be posted nearby, but it never hurts to ask. And again, like I said, there's a ranger station nearby at this particular campground. So go ahead and, check everything that they have out about Big Spring in Missouri. It's our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And as always, if you have a campground that you would like for us to feature on the program, by all means, definitely get in touch with us at 404-537-CAMP, or you can email us by very simply going to the website and clicking on the Contact Us button. That's going to wrap it up for me. It's been kind of lonely in the studio today, but hey, we get through it. Anytime we're talking about camping, it's all about relaxing, it's about having a good time, and it's about enjoying the great outdoors. And that's something we do best here at the Happy Camper Radio Show. Hey, don't forget you can catch us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Hubert Productions. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper, and no doubt about it, my friends, you can be a happy camper too. We'll catch you next week. This is Happy Camper Radio.